I was telling people about the success I was having because it seemed unusual. I was making 5K a month within 6 months. I was making 10K a month within the first 12 months. And in my second year, I made my first six-figure year. So people were like, how are you doing this? How are you making this much money in an industry that typically doesn't pay that well? It does, by the way, if you do it well. And I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, let me put together this 5-day free training and just see if you like it.
Today I am with
Hannah Dixon.
And Hannah Dixon is actually quite a famous person. I'm very honored that I have opportunity to talk with Hannah because I personally know Hannah for many, many years. Let's first explain what you do and why I have been following you for so many years.
So I train virtual assistants and freelancers. I also run a community where they can connect. And for me, it's always been about bringing together people who come from marginalized backgrounds into a place where they can really be themselves unmasked. So when people say I train virtual assistants, what I'm really doing is building this community of like change makers, people who don't feel like they fit in anywhere else. So we've trained over 35,000 people over the last 10 years. And I'm also running a community called Rainbow Remote, which is for LGBTQ plus remote professionals. So that's new and maybe a conference in the making. And I also do matchmaking, so I connect virtual assistants and freelancers with people who want to hire them.
How many years are you doing this?
10 and a half, 11, something like that.
And you are, as I know, you are a digital nomad for 17 years.
Correct, yes. Although I would say the first couple of years I was an analog nomad. I wasn't necessarily working online. I was working in farms and bars and hostels, and then, well, that's my whole origin story. It's long.
So can we come back very shortly, why you became digital nomad and why you started to work on virtual assistant coaching programs and communities and conferences and so on?
I was in a very abusive relationship in England, and honestly, my first trip abroad was running away. And so when I left that situation, I found my people. When I traveled, I found incredible people doing incredible things, and it opened my mind to what was possible for me. I did eventually go back to the UK at some point because I ran out of money, and everyone was like, go get a real job, you know, the thing that everybody says. And I did that for like 2 months. I got a real job in a bar, and it was intercepted because I met somebody who worked online. And I was like, you need to tell me everything you know. I want to know everything you know. How do you, like, I didn't care what she did. I was just like, oh, you work from your computer from anywhere. And she did very generously teach me everything she knew. And then before I knew it, her clients were coming to me, and I was doing their admin tasks and their social media and all kinds of things. And it wasn't until one of them actually said to me on a team call, like, oh, well, you're my virtual assistant, that I knew what that meant. And then that opened a whole other world for me. I started a Facebook community at that time. And I was telling people about the success I was having because it seemed unusual. I was making 5K a month within 6 months. I was making 10K a month within the first 12 months. And in my second year, I made my first six-figure year. So people were like, how are you doing this? How are you making this much money in an industry that typically doesn't pay that well? It does, by the way, if you do it well. And I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, let me put together this 5-day free training and just see if you like it. So on day one, I just thought to myself, what would I do if I was starting again? And I told them to do that. Day two, I thought about it again. Like in the moment, I made up this challenge. At the end of the week, people were getting clients. And I was like, people who knew nothing about this are landing their first paying clients, not trial projects, not, bartering. So I was like, maybe there's something in this. And so I ran it again, and people were like, this is really motivational, this is really inspirational, I'm getting results. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll put a course together, And I did, and I transitioned from giving services to training others, and that's how I got here. But I never intended on any of it, and I just kind of followed my curiosity every step of the way.
Can we come back a little bit to the basics of understanding what virtual assistance is? Maybe some people don't really understand what exactly it means, what kind of job you can give to virtual assistant and how to brief them, what virtual assistants actually do, and how people or companies that never used virtual assistant can enter this service.
Yes, so a virtual assistant could do a lot of things. Typically, their tasks will fall into admin, tech, or creative solutions, and there can be a combination of those. So any aspect of your business that can be done remotely could be outsourced to a virtual assistant, and there's probably things that you're not thinking about as well that could fall into those buckets. And how to go about it, I would say immediately is to start identifying the areas where you're spending time that are just taking you away from doing your best work. I always say you can look at any of those buckets and see them as overflowing or leaking, and it's a whole process. But if you realize you're getting far too many contracts coming through, which is a really good problem to have, you probably need to start getting some extra hands. Or if you're missing important emails, that's me. I miss lots of opportunities because I cannot get on top of my emails, but I've just hired someone. Yeah, I got 47,000 unread emails right now. And so that's a leaking bucket for me, and I'm losing opportunities. So that's an opportunity for me to think, oh, maybe I should hire in this area. And then I think it's really important to document your processes. I think all entrepreneurs and businesses should be doing this anyway. You should be documenting your processes, at least loosely. It doesn't need to be like full-on SOPs because a VA can help you create those, but at least loosely documenting how things work. Here's the tools you use, making sure you have something like LastPass or something already set up. That's good to do anyway, so that when you do bring somebody in, it's much easier to integrate them and have them understand what's going on behind the scenes, because there's probably other ways to do things, but they need to understand how you did it in the first place to unravel it and make it better. And then empowering them to create SOPs as they go, so making sure there's a place for them to. And empowering yourself. Like, you don't want your VA to go on vacation and then you don't know how to do anything in your business anymore. So I think just document before you hire, as you hire, after you hire. Like, you should always be doing that.
So you just started with needing to make money, and then you needed to start somewhere, and that was something that was doable for you according to your skills and opportunities, and just starting doing this step by step, and eventually found a niche that no one really knew about it, and you were one of the first, and then it was like, okay, this is working, so I can show it to other people who are working. Do you understand correctly that virtual assistant is something that's possible to enter to many people, so it doesn't require high digital skills? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's a big misconception that people think they need to be really techie or even know lots of admin things. For me, virtual assistance is kind of like freelancing. I use those words interchangeably if you assist people virtually, so service-based businesses. And for me, it's really an accessible career path because you can come in with what you know and you can grow. I always say the more you learn, the more you can earn. So I didn't go to college, I didn't go to university, I don't have much of an academic background at all, but I was able to pick things up. I grew up when the internet started, so I was one of the first people using the internet. So we grew up learning these things, and we have skills that boomers didn't have. So it's natural for a lot of people to have a lot of the skills that are in demand to be a virtual assistant, and the more you learn them, the more you hone in on the areas that you excel in already, you can earn more money. So even if, I always say, you're already an expert wherever you are. It doesn't matter what career path you take. Well, it does a little bit. If you're going to be a doctor, you need to know that. But if you're going to be a virtual assistant, if you know just how to put a Word document together, there is somebody in the world who does not know how to do that. You're an expert in their eyes, so you can start with that, and then you can get, much more.
We are right now at Nomad Island Fest, and there is another speaker. His name Ken Cohen, and he is author of many books. One of them, Happy Money, and he has been studying money and EQ, emotional relationships with money and happiness, about everything that around these financials. Also because he see a lot of people struggling and families going, brings a lot of troubles in family because of the money. And he, on one of his interviews, he said that if you find your place, and you're happy in your place, and you feel passionate about your place, then you are able to give back to people. Then the money flows back to you, and this is when you are giving back and receiving back is, as he calls, happy money. As I understand from your short explanation, that's something that you found randomly because you're just doing your best. And then you started to give back to people, and that became part of your business and community now and the course, just because you started to give back to people. Did you find your happy money flow because you found your place?
I think so, yes. I think that I went for so many years with having no money at all that I didn't really understand the value of it once it started to come in. And I'm now very grateful to be in a position where I don't think about money anymore, which is crazy for me to say it. And it's a good thing because it's the same way I felt when I had no money and I was happy. When I was traveling and I was doing these work exchanges, it was that joy that I had from just existing and doing things that were important to me. So for me, yeah, giving back to people, money is just an energetic exchange to me. So it's just like, I could give you advice, or you could give me money, or I could give you money, or you could give me a hug. Like, it's just something we exchange. And I think if there's value in the thing that you're exchanging, then yeah, it's happy money. And I have a lot of happy money now.
Like, you've been at the place where you've been, can I say poor, or with no money? Right now you have no, you have no thoughts about the money. Do you count?
I go through periods where I'm very intensely looking at my money, so I'll kind of just reassign my investments, that kind of thing, and then I leave it again for like maybe 6 months. I think the only thing I check is if my credit scores goes up or down, because I'm just like, oh, did I put too much on one credit card? Let me just shift some things around. But typically, like, I'm naturally very like aware of my money and like kind of intuitive. So also my wife and I, we share expenses, but so we don't have a shared bank account because we don't have the same nationalities and all that kind of stuff. But like, I'll pay for a bunch of stuff, then she'll pay for a bunch of stuff, and I'm just like, should we look at what we're spending? And then we're like, nah. And then like maybe a few months later, I'm like, I'm just curious, like, who spent more? And then we look, I'm like, we spent exactly the same, like almost to the dollar sometimes. I'm like, so I'm very intuitive about what I'm spending. Like, I think it kind of calculating as I go. But I used to religiously check my bank account, which was like not good for me. Now my phone doesn't even have my banking apps on it because I'm like, don't need to look.
Do you think you have any monthly budget? When you travel, you're like, no, approximately you would need this amount of budget?
It changes drastically. So I have a home base in Guanajuato, Mexico now, which is a new thing for me to have any place that I am staying for a significant amount of time. So I know how much my rent is there, of course, and I always account for that, and it's really low, which is great. So I don't really think about it, but I keep that in mind. And then I think because originally I wanted to live in New York or something, and I'm like, if I'm living in New York and I'm dropping 5K on rent, I'm going to be thinking about that when I'm traveling, and it's going to stress me out. So I've chosen to be somewhere where I don't have to think about, I have a nice place where my dogs can be free and happy. And then when I'm traveling, I think, like, for example, I've been away 3 months now, and I know that this month was the most expensive because I went to 3 different conferences on 3 different continents. So I kind of knew, like, I'm probably going to drop 5 figures this month, and next month I'm probably going to spend $600 on groceries back home, so it kind of goes in and out. And I always have money aside for like these bigger trips, like, and I always see them as an investment anyway, because coming here I'm going to make more money by being here, maybe not directly but indirectly. Maybe a year from now I'll make a contract with somebody. So for me it's also just an investment in myself and my happiness. Even if I got no money from this, like, it's an investment in my happiness, which makes me more productive in better ways and more excited about life, and I'll create better things and make more money.
By helping other people to enter a virtual assistant job, what is the biggest impact you see? How their life changes when they actually go the way you show them?
I think they really step into themselves in a way that they didn't know was possible. For me, entrepreneurship on a whole opens up so many possibilities for us to realize our potential. And so, I mean, there are very tangible ways. For example, I know people who have been able to move out of war zones. I've known people that have been able to lift themselves out of poverty. I know people who have left domestic violence situations. Me sharing my story has empowered people to do that too. And so there are these tangible ways, but then there's the intangibles. It's the way they feel about themselves, right? It's like knowing what's possible and starting to think outside the box. Like, some of them start as a virtual assistant, and some of them now are life coaches. Some of them are now speaking coaches. Some of them are now writing books. And it all started with that spark of like, oh, I can do something different. So I think the most powerful thing that I do is giving people that opportunity to see life differently, because it's not just our work. It impacts their relationships. It impacts their friendships. It impacts how they choose to live, if they want to be a digital nomad or not, or if they want to, I don't know, whatever they want to do, from like having loads of money to opening a farm or whatever they want to do. Well, my business is called Digital Nomad Kit, so a lot of people do want to be digital nomads, and then some of them find it's not for them. They'll try it, and it's not for them. And I'd say a lot of my audience are kind of like semi-nomads, which is kind of where I would see myself right now, because I have a home base, but I'm traveling at least 6 months of the year. A lot of them want that, but then when they do it, they're not sure.
I mean, this is amazing, because a virtual assistant is one of the basic jobs, one of the first step jobs that you can take with any experience if you want to become a remote worker and travel anywhere and work from anywhere and work for from any country to and be hired by any person from any country of the planet, basically. What influence do you see by AI these days on virtual assistants, as many jobs already can be automated by AI and replaced with AI?
I'm not scared about that at all. What I'm so in my matchmaking side of my business, we're getting clients come to me now who are looking for freelancers and VAs with AI skills, because at the end of the day, people still don't want to do things, right? So in order to use those tools, you need to hire people who know how to use them. So I think as long as VAs can stay with the times and keep themselves informed about, changing technology, they're going to be ahead of the game and always going to be in demand, which we're literally seeing. Like at least 40% of the jobs that come through to our community are asking for AI skills these days. So we're staying ahead of the curve by making sure that we're bringing in experts to train people on these tools.
And the companies itself, do you see any that they would reduce amount of orders to virtual assistants since AI already is around? For example, if I would need some virtual assistant help, I would think first, maybe I can do it myself with AI, and if I cannot, I will go to virtual assistant. But for now, maybe part of the job that I would use to go give to virtual assistant, I would actually find the solution myself.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely happening. That's happening in a lot of industries, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's good that people can do things for themselves, but it also means that VAs can step into different roles now, and I think that having a more human-centered approach, having a really great client experience, that's something that helps them stand out. So I think it's about just changing how you work, not necessarily. I don't see any dip in the amount of roles in our community. I don't see any dip in people's success. So I'm not seeing like a direct impact, but I do think people are doing that. But VAs are still useful in so many other ways. So
your focus is not only digital nomads, and your heart is also with the people that has limited access to work, which is disabled people and people who are probably not freely can go to work to offices. Can you talk about that? I know that it became a latest your focus.
Yes. So for me, as I said, like this work is so accessible and it's really entry-level stuff, and at least to start with. And so it just, in my mind, is an obvious thing to put into the hands of people who don't have other opportunities. So in really remote regions, maybe where there's not many opportunities locally, or for example, disabled people. I'm neurodivergent myself, so this kind of work was very accommodating for me, and so I see that in my students as well. So it's important for me to share what I know can help people. And I've recently just partnered with Madeira movement in the last 2 years, and with them we are working to get our training into the hands of young people in Albania and Kosovo to instill leadership skills in them and their local communities. And even if they don't become virtual assistants, they still have this new mindset, they still have this new way of thinking about what's possible in their lives, and knowing that they can do these kinds of things, or they can do something. Like for example, one of the guys in our last cohort, he isn't a virtual assistant, but now he's created this ebook on marketing and he's selling it. And I'm like, this is cool. Like he probably wasn't thinking about that before, but also just giving them the self-confidence to know that they can take their lives into their own hands, and they can sort of bypass all those rules that society tells them about who they are and where they're supposed to be. And they can go past that, and they can, they can be whoever they want to be.
What is your big goal for life? Do you see any vision for yourself that your path that you see for yourself? Where are you going?
This is the first time I'm saying this in any sort of interview. It's a two-part thing. I want to write a book called Unconventional Excellence. I've started it already. It's about how people who are against all odds doing extraordinary things, based on my own story as well. And I want to speak around the world on stages, big stages, talking about this topic and that topic only. And then I want my current business, Digital Nomad Kit, to continue as it is, because I want to preserve that community as it is. If that grew much more, it wouldn't have the same feeling. So I want to keep that and keep nurturing those people. And then I want my programs to be picked up by governments, specifically the UK government, so that my training can be delivered through the job centre and welfare programs for unemployed people who might not have other opportunities. It would relieve them of a lot of resources and make people happy and make me happy.
I have a question about the Nomad Island Fest.
Yes.
So we are right now at the Nomad Island Fest that's organized by Michelle Marie, and we are in Madeira, where I actually based. So I based here for 2 last years, and I'm just lucky that you came here and that Michelle does Nomad Island Fest in Madeira. What brought you here? And what is your expectations or people you want to meet or key takeaways from this event?
Michelle brought me here. I really connected with her a few months back, maybe a year back, I'm not sure, but I liked her vibe. I liked what she was about. And I'm always curious. I like going to lots of different events because I like to see where my people are at, and I feel like I found them here. And I came here with a very open heart, and I feel like I'm leaving with a very full heart. And in ways that I didn't expect. I think it's been less so the conference and the talks, like of course those are great, but it's been the connections I've had with individuals, some of the sharing sessions. Last night I had a very profound moment with someone that I met here. Those kinds of things. And that's what I seek when I'm traveling. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for connection to people. I'm looking to learn new things about interesting people, and I found that here. I have a lot of issues with men and feeling safe around men, and I felt very safe around pretty much every man I've met here, which is not the case at most events. And last night I had the opportunity to do a cuddling session with a man, and it was the first time in my life I think I felt safe embracing a man. And it was really profound for me, actually. So I'm really grateful I was able to have that experience here.
That's powerful. I have one last question. I always talk about profession, money, and career, job. And somehow I always forget to ask about the travel part. Because I take it for granted. In my case, it's we're traveling anyway. We are going from place to place, and maybe it's normal life. But it is not. No. It is not. What is the most memorable travel, maybe for the last year or two, the destination that you felt very happy about? And what's your next plans for the travel?
I went to an event in Salt Lake City, Utah, which is somewhere I would probably never go unless there were... Utah, yeah. I would probably never go there unless there was an event. And I was blown away. It is the most gorgeous place with the most amazing people, amazing food, incredible nature, just so much to do. And I made so many great connections there business-wise too. So it was a real big shock to me, which only reinforces I want to see everywhere, because there's so many places that you just don't think to go, and then you don't know what kind of experience you're going to have. In terms of my next steps, I am going to Brazil in March for Nomad World Fest. Is that what it's called? Yeah, Gonzalo's event. I will be speaking there, and that will be my first time in Brazil, so I'm very excited for that.
I'm considering to go there as well. Okay, thank you so much for your time, and I'm so happy that we finally met. I've been waiting for you to meet here at the Nomad Island Fest. I knew that you're coming maybe 6 months ago, and I was waiting for the moment that I can speak with you. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Can I hug?
Yes, of course.